You know, it's funny how some of the biggest questions in life, they're the ones that have been around forever.
Hmm.
Like, how do you really know if the Holy Spirit's working in your life, you know?
Yeah.
Not just hoping, but like knowing. So we're diving into these sermons by Pastor E.S. He digs into that.
Oh, I've heard of him. He gets right to it, doesn't he?
No kidding. He lays out 7 signs, biblical signs, calls it, and even if you've been following this stuff for years, some of it really made me think.
Interesting. So, like, what's the first sign there? What's he starting off with?
Okay, so he calls sign #1 confidence is salvation,
Mm.
straight to Romans 8.16, right? Talking about the Spirit
Yeah.
assuring us we're God's kids. But it's not just some like emotional high, it's deeper than that.
Okay, I'm with you so far. But doesn't everyone doubt sometimes?
That's exactly what I thought. But he actually talks about that. He says you can have this deep down certainty about God's love and still get those what if thoughts,
Oh, wow. He actually addresses that. That's really validating to hear, honestly.
right? So it's like this internal back and forth, faith and doubt, kind of duking it out.
That makes a lot of sense, actually. I think a lot of us go through that. It's like you want to believe, but
Y-
then,
Exactly. So it's not that you've got to reach this point where you never question anything, but more about like where those questions coming from and how do you keep going back to the truth?
because everyone feels unsure sometimes, it's about what you do with that, not pretending it's not there.
100%. Which I guess leads right into his sign #2 godly character. And this is where he does not hold back.
Oh.
He's all about Galatians 5.22-23 here. And he makes this huge distinction between like outward flashiness, you know, being charismatic, and true interchange.
Because you can fake charisma, right? Like anyone can put on a show.
Exactly. He even says something like, you can't just fake it till you make it with this.
Hmm.
True character. That comes from somewhere deeper.
So it's not about putting on an act, but actually being different on the inside.
That's what he's saying. And what's so freeing about that is it takes the pressure off of us having to perform. It becomes more about letting God do the work in us, changing us from the inside out.
Kind of like God's the one doing the remodeling, not us trying to DIY it.
Yes. And it's a lifelong project, right? We're always a work in progress.
Always under construction. Okay, I like that. What's next? Sign #3.
So sign #3 is evangelistic passion. And this one really got me thinking about how when you are filled with the Spirit, it's like this natural overflow of
Yeah.
wanting to share your faith, you know? It's not forced.
Like you can't not talk about it. I
Okay.
can see that.
Yeah. And he's pulling from Acts 1.8 here,
Yeah.
talking about receiving power to be witnesses. It's like the Holy Spirit is the ultimate hype man for Jesus, right?
Okay, that's a new one. But I see what you mean. It's not coming from us, this desire to share the good news. It's coming from the source of it.
Yes. Okay, but now I got to ask about the next one because I know it's a big one and it can be a little controversial.
Oh, let me guess. Speaking in tongues.
You got it. Sign #4.
Yeah.
Speaking in tongues.
Yes, Dish. Even bringing it up can be a whole thing, right?
Totally. And you could almost feel the energy shift when you got
Yeah.
to this one in the sermon. Like he knew it was a big deal.
So how'd he handle it?
Okay, so what impressed me was he acknowledged right off the bat that there are different views on this, even within Christianity.
Which is fair because there are.
Right. But he was really big on like emphasizing unity and understanding above all else. It wasn't about shutting down any one viewpoint.
So is he saying he believes in it or
He actually says he believes in it more than most,
not? But
but he also makes it super clear that speaking in tongues is not the only evidence of the Spirit. He used this analogy like how the Spirit gives different gifts to different people, just like in a family.
right, because you might have one sibling who's a musician and another who's amazing at math doesn't mean one's better than the other.
That's the idea. So just because someone else has a certain gift doesn't mean you're somehow lacking if you don't have it.
It's about the bigger picture, right? Not getting hung up on any one specific thing.
That's what he kept saying. It's about that overall transformation, the fruit of the Spirit,
There.
rather than like checking off boxes of specific experiences.
I like that. So what's next? It's like you're not looking for just one kind of flower in a whole garden, right? There's beauty in all the different ways things grow.
Oh, I like that a lot. Okay, so sign #5. Are you ready for this? It's a love for Jesus.
Okay, yeah, I mean, that makes sense, but I'm curious how he gets into it.
So he uses this word, and it kind of threw me at first, but he says you become obsessed with Jesus.
Oh, wow. Okay, yeah, that's strong. I can see why that would make you think twice. What's he getting at there?
Right. But he explains it in a way that actually makes a ton of sense.
Yeah.
He's talking about this love that goes way beyond just like liking Jesus or admiring him. Like it impacts everything you do, everything you think about, your priorities. It's like,
It consumes you.
yes.
Yeah.
And he brings up Romans 5.5 here, talking about how God's love It gets poured into our hearts by the Holy Spirit.
So it's not about us having to drum up these feelings on our own.
That's what he's saying. It's a gift. This love, it's flowing from the Holy Spirit, and it just like spills over onto Jesus.
You can't help but be changed by it.
Exactly. It's not meant to be contained. It changes how you see everything, how you treat people, everything.
That's amazing. Okay, I'm ready for the next one. What's sign? #6.
Okay, so sign #6 is knowledge of the truth. And if I'm honest, this one, at first I wasn't so sure about. I thought, isn't knowledge just like head knowledge? Facts and
Yes.
figures?
That's what I would thought too. But knowing him, there's got to be more to it.
Oh, there's totally is. He uses this image of hidden treasures being revealed, which I thought was really cool. And he's pulling from 1 John 2.27 here, talking about the Spirit guiding us into all truth. But he's clear that this isn't just about stuffing your brain with information.
So it's deeper than that. Have you ever had that experience where, like, you knew something in your gut, not just your head? Like, it just clicked on a different level?
Oh my gosh, yes.
Uh,
All the time. And it's not like a one-time thing either, right?
Oh.
It's this constant unfolding, this journey of discovery.
It's like having a backstage pass to, like, the greatest mysteries of life, and the Spirit's right there with you, explaining it all.
It made me think about how we were talking earlier about that internal struggle, faith, and doubt. Having this knowledge of the truth, it's like having stronger footing when those doubts come knocking.
Right. Like, you have somewhere solid to stand.
Exactly. It reminds me of that verse, you will seek me and find me when you seek me with all your heart. It's that wholehearted search that the Spirit responds to.
I love that. Okay, so we're on the last sign, right? What's he ending with?
All right, so sign #7. This is a big one. It's holiness. And he does not sugarcoat this one, not even a little bit.
Oh, how so?
He straight up says, when you're filled with the Holy Spirit, sin loses its appeal. It's not about following rules because you have to, but because there's been a change inside you.
So it's not just outward behavior. It's about your desires lining up with God's desires.
Yes. He actually calls the Holy Spirit the Spirit of holiness.
Hmm.
He's going back to 1 Peter 1.2 here, where it talks about being chosen for obedience and being made clean by Jesus' sacrifice.
That's powerful.
It really is. And it made me realize it's not about trying harder to be good enough. It's about surrendering to the one who makes us holy.
It's like the striving can stop and the real transformation can begin.
It's like you're not stuck trying to do it all on your own anymore. You know,
Yeah.
You've got this power backing you up. It's pretty amazing when you think about it. And, through all these signs, something really hit me was he's not saying you got to have all this figured out to be saved. It's not like a checklist.
Right. It's not like, okay, check, check, check. I've got all 7. I'm good. He even says that directly.
Yeah. It's more like he's holding up this mirror and we can look at these signs and see like, okay, are these things happening in my life? And if so, are they growing? It's about self-reflection, but not in a way that makes you feel bad.
Right. It's not about beating yourself up. It's more like taking stock, Like, where am I at with this? Am I more confident in my salvation than I used to be? Is my character changing? What about my love for Jesus? How real is that? We should be asking ourselves these questions all the time, I think.
And that's how you know you're growing, right? When you're willing to be real with yourself and with God. It's that honesty, that desire for more of him that I think makes all the difference.
Totally. And it made me think about how he ends the whole sermon series. He doesn't just leave you hanging with all this info. He actually leads people in a prayer.
Oh, I love when preachers do that. It brings it all home,
Yeah. He invites anyone who wants to experience the Holy Spirit more fully to pray with him right there. It's a moment of total surrender, but also invitation.
Because it's one thing to hear about the Holy Spirit, but it's something totally different to actually feel his presence,
Yeah.
to have that real tangible experience.
Right. And that's what it's all about. It's not about having every theological detail perfectly understood. It's about saying yes to God, opening yourself up and letting him do what he does.
So if I had to sum up what we've been talking about today, I think it comes down to this. It's not about trying to be holy enough. It's about surrendering to the one who already makes you holy.
Perfectly said. And remembering that we're not on this journey alone. We've got the Holy Spirit right here with us, guiding us, giving us strength, and helping us become more like Jesus every single day.
You've been listening to The Deep Dive, where we take all those sources you've been meaning to get to and break them down for you. Hopefully this has given you something to think about, maybe even spark some interesting conversations. Keep exploring, keep those questions coming, and until next time, keep diving deep.